I think for me as an artist now, I consider myself to be a plein air artist. I go out into the field nowadays, and just like I did in Vietnam, only the fields are a little different. I get a certain satisfaction, and it's an impressionist style. Big brushes, bold colors, working fast.
Plein air is a French word, painting in the open air. And you have to go out there and you have to commune with the environment, and it doesn't always agree with what you want to do. I've been doing this painting outdoors and on location for a long time. I've always been interested in art. It just seemed to be born with me. I don't know where it came from.
It's just so enjoyable to be outside and feel accomplishment that seeing something that has a story to tell, telling the story in an hour to an hour and a half, putting it in a frame, and somebody might make it part of their life too. My name is Stephen Randall. In Vietnam, I was assigned to Combat Artist Team 7.
James Pollock. I was assigned to Combat Art Team 4 in 1967. I was well aware of the significance of artists and war and how they operated, and I saw this as a chance to contribute something to history through my art.
I knew about a program that the Army had just started for combat artists. I knew that they were an important part of recording the historical events in Vietnam, and I wanted to be a part of that. I applied for the program, sent in examples of my work. There was a juried process, a competition.
The Vietnam Combat Art Program was kind of a unique program in that they used the soldiers, artists, and had these rotating teams. And then Team 9 was the last team that set foot in Vietnam. Normally, the military had established artists in World War I, World War II, Harvey Dunn, and that was the way they did things. The Vietnam War was a little different. They went to the established artists, and they were more interested in the anti-war movement, things that were going on here, and they really didn't want to get involved in going over to Vietnam. So the Army finally turned around and says, well, we'll use our soldiers. The overall pattern of how these things operated is there was 5 artists, you had open travel orders, and you go travel and you visit a unit for a day or 2 and then go back. We'd spend 60 days in Vietnam doing our research and doing our reference work, and then we would leave Vietnam. Typically it was 60 days in Hawaii to do our finished work. There's 46 artists that did this.
We were soldier artists, so we had to meet all the requirements for a soldier in the Army. But in addition to that, your assignment as a combat artist was to go out and record events using sketches, journals, and photographs. At the same time, be a soldier. So I did have to carry a weapon. The other supplies, I depended a lot on my journal, my sketchbook, and my camera. They wanted something more than just somebody trying to capture the whole story in one shot, but somebody who could interpret that story, could focus in on a part of it and say, this was really important at this point in time, and I want to show you what that was like.
And when you were visiting, you did what they did in the field. And if you became in a dangerous situation, that was what happened. We went out on a night patrol. We were in the rice paddy areas. It was a jungle and it was dark and everything like that. And pretty soon I saw these 3 helicopters were coming over us, and they passed over us. This happened twice. They made 2 passes, and the platoon leader says, "Get up against the rice paddies. They think we're Viet Cong and they're gonna shoot this next pass." And so we did. And just as they started swooping down, they picked up and took off and flew away. Well, what had happened is that there was a miscommunication, but there was no direct communication between our unit and these helicopters. They had to go back to Saigon. Whoever was on duty at Saigon wasn't at the switch at that particular time. They couldn't relay to the helicopter people that these were friendly people down there. The people in Saigon came in at the last minute. They radioed the helicopters and they took off. And that's the story that was told to me what happened.
I was assigned to the platoon of the 199th Light Infantry Brigade. We were headed out, they called it an ambush patrol. Well, instead we got ambushed. They were waiting for us. As we returned fire, I used up the 2 clips on my M14, and the guy carrying the M60 machine gun was wrestling with the ammo belt coming out of a bag because the guy that was supposed to be helping him had gone forward to bring back the dead and wounded. And so I crawled over there and I said, I'll help, and so I started feeding the ammo belt out of the bag up to him as he was shooting. And that's what I showed in my painting. None of the other paintings included me, but in that particular event and story that I was trying to tell, the composition is the people that were around us, working together, trying to defend our position and bring back the wounded. So that's what I tried to depict that action in a single painting. And whether it was successful or not, I know that people have said, well, I recognize that. I've seen that before.
All of the art that these artists created was experienced by them, and it came from their heart. And I think that's what makes this art different than, say, somebody sitting in a studio and working off of a photograph.
Each painting, I think, for all of us, was a story to be told. And how you tell that story with your techniques, your methods, your supplies, all became very important, I think, to the whole effort that the Army was looking for in their program.
So they really did want as much expression from the artist as possible. And I think you can see that. Roger Blum did a painting, and it's a picture of a village being burned down with some little kids there. And I mean, if the Army would never, if they were censoring, they wouldn't have allowed something like that. But there's a lot of pictures in this collection, and a variety of artists that are really anti-war pictures. All the art belongs in the Army's Center of Military History's Army Art Collection. They moved to Fort Belvoir, and they built a $20 million archive building, and that's where the art is stored. And in addition to this big building this art is stored in, they're actually going to have a museum. The Army's art collection is extensive. They claim they've got one of the premier, largest arms collections in the world, and their crown jewel is the art collection, and they have over 16,000 pieces in that collection, and that runs all the way back as long as the military's been around.
If it can be presented in such a way for the public to be able to see it and to do their own interpretations of what is being presented and shown, if that can happen, then I think it's wonderful for the experience and for the lessons learned.
We got on this helicopter, the door was open, and inside, when I could see the Tan Son Nhut, I could see the Saigon in there, and it was full of body bags. It came home to me what this war business is all about. One of the body bags had been punctured, and there was a foul order in there, and it was just a terrible experience. But I realized that war is just a tragic, and it's just too bad that this world can't get along without war.
When I look back at it, I don't try to interpret the whys and the wherefores. I say it happened. Vietnam happened, and I was a part of it. I usually don't think much more beyond that, other than my involvement in it, hopefully, is a contribution to a better understanding of it. The things that happen are going to happen. If you don't have any personal control over what happened, at least maybe you can interpret what happened. And if I've done a good job of that, then I'm thankful.